Everyone feared Henry Dales. The millionaire who owned half the town fired staff like it was a sport, and once banned a teacher for correcting his son. People walked on eggshells around him, until the new waitress showed up. She didn't flinch when he yelled. She didn't fold when he threatened. What she did, in front of everyone, it changed the town forever, and made him the punchline of a joke he'll never live down. Everyone in Harrison Falls knew one rule: don't cross Henry Dales. He didn't just own land. He owned people's nerves. The bank bore his name. The mayor called him Sir. The diner, where most locals came for breakfast, was his too. The staff knew it, the town knew it, and he made damn sure no one ever forgot it. He came in every Thursday, 9:17 a.m. sharp, and sat at booth 7, by the window. No greetings. No smiles. Just quiet control. He ordered the same thing: black coffee, eggs runny, toast not dry. And if anything was off, someone got fired. Nobody joked around when he was inside. They barely breathed. Then June walked in. She was new in town. 25. Broke. Starting over again. Her cousin let her crash on the couch in a half-empty apartment complex Henry also owned. The same day she dropped off her resume at Gibson's Diner, they hired her. No interview. Just, you start Monday. Wear shoes that grip. She was sharp-eyed, quiet, observant. The kind of girl who'd seen enough of life to know when fear was real and when it was just a costume. By Thursday, she was still learning table numbers when Marla, a tough server in her 50s, leaned in and pointed toward the corner booth. You see him? Marla whispered. Booth 7. Henry Dales. You don't mess up his order. Don't speak first. Don't make jokes. Just survive it. June blinked. Is this a prank? You think I'm kidding? Last girl made a joke about toast. Next day, she was gone. And the cook too. June nodded slowly. Right. The man who fires people for breakfast. Marla said nothing. Just handed her the order pad and stepped back. At 9:17 a.m., Henry entered. The diner hushed. Forks paused. Chairs stopped mid-squeak. He walked to his booth without looking at anyone. Sat down like he owned the air. June walked over with her notepad, heart calm, voice steady. Good morning, she said. Henry didn't look up. She stood a little closer. I'm June. I'll be. You're late, he cut in. She checked her watch. It's 9:17. You should have been standing here already. June exhaled once through her nose, then smiled. Well, she said, now I am. Henry finally looked up. Cold gray eyes, calculating, expecting submission. You're new, he said. I am. Untrained. I've dealt with worse than you. The table went still. He tilted his head slightly. Studied her. You're not afraid of me. June shrugged. Fear's expensive. I'm broke. He gave the order: coffee, eggs runny, toast, properly done. June returned minutes later with the tray. Set it down. Watched him sip the coffee. He paused. Frowned slightly. Tasted again. Not hot enough, he said. Temperature's fine, June replied, calm. The mug's thick. Retains heat. You'll survive. A cough laugh escaped from a booth nearby. Someone quickly looked away. Henry narrowed his eyes. Excuse me. June leaned in slightly, lowered her voice. You don't scare me, Mr. Dales, so if you're looking to ruin someone's morning, try another table. He blinked, just once, like someone unused to being spoken to like a person. Then she straightened and walked off, like nothing had happened. The kitchen buzzed. Did she just? Oh my God. She's gone by tomorrow. But she wasn't. Because the next Thursday, Henry returned, and asked for her. He pushed her. Week after week. Sent plates back for minor details. Commented on her posture. One time, he sent a note saying, bring napkins before the coffee. Respect hierarchy. June never folded. She delivered the coffee, the eggs, the toast, always perfect. And always with a line that cut through the tension like a scalpel. Sir, she once said, you ever think about enjoying a meal like a normal human being? Henry stared at her. She smiled. Didn't think so. Then came the day he snapped. The diner was short-staffed, busy, loud. June had worked 2 doubles. She was sweating through her apron when he walked in, as punctual as ever. She brought his plate, perfectly done, just like always. He stared at it, tapped his fork once. Then, with deliberate malice, picked up the coffee pot on the table and poured it over the food. Hot coffee spilled across the plate, soaking the toast, bleeding into the eggs. The room gasped. Unacceptable, he muttered. Try again. June stared down at the mess. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice didn't rise. She leaned close. You know what's unacceptable, Mr. Dales? He didn't answer. She whispered, being a grown man who ruins breakfast to feel powerful. He looked up at her, stunned. "You just made yourself look pathetic in front of the entire room," she said. "And I didn't even have to do a thing." Then she smiled and walked away. Behind her, silence fell. Then a quiet clink as Henry set his fork down, slower than usual, almost careful. For the first time in years, he had no idea what to say. Henry Dales didn't speak for the rest of that Thursday morning. He sat in booth 7 with a ruined breakfast in front of him, a $100 pen in his hand, and a face he couldn't quite hold steady. The usual smirk, the mask of boredom and silent cruelty, was missing. For the first time in years, the staff didn't scatter when passing his table. They didn't have to. He'd been humiliated. And everyone saw it. But instead of rage, Henry stood quietly, pulled a few bills from his wallet, and left them on the table. More than the meal cost. Much more. He walked out without a single word. That was the first crack in the image he'd built. The next morning, June walked into her shift expecting a call from the owner. Or a lawsuit. Or a man in a suit with papers and fake politeness. But no one called. Instead, the place was busier than usual. A few customers actually smiled when they saw her. "You're the one who stood up to him," one whispered. Another tipped her double and said, "About time someone said what we were all thinking." Even Marla, who had been working there for 20 years and never once crossed Henry's shadow, leaned in at the coffee station and said, "You've got steel in you, girl. Be careful. Men like him don't forget." But June wasn't interested in being careful. She wasn't reckless, either. She'd just seen men like Henry before. Wealthy cowards in silk suits who believed fear was the same thing as respect. She knew better. Henry didn't come back the next week. Or the one after that. Booth 7 stayed empty. Staff whispered. A few customers even asked, jokingly, "Did you break him?" June just smiled and poured their coffee. Then, on the third Thursday, he returned. Not alone. This time, he walked in with a woman, early 40s, cold expression, sleek briefcase in hand, and 2 men in suits behind them. His eyes scanned the room once, then landed on her. He didn't sit at booth 7. Instead, he approached the counter and said, loudly, "Is the manager here?" Dave, the cook, looked up from the kitchen pass. "Why?" Henry didn't answer him. His eyes stayed fixed on June. "I'd like to file a formal complaint," he said. "Last visit, I was verbally harassed by one of your waitresses." The diner went still. June stepped forward. "Come. Even. That waitress was me." Henry's jaw tightened. "Then consider this your notice. Effective immediately, I've terminated your position. This property belongs to me. I have full authority." June tilted her head slightly. "Actually, you don't." He blinked. The woman next to him stepped forward, opening the briefcase. June beat her to it. She reached under the counter, pulled out a folded paper, and laid it flat. "Lease renewal," she said. "Your name's not on it anymore." Henry's nostrils flared. "Impossible." "Not really. The original owner passed it to his daughter. She sold it to an independent buyer a month ago. Guess you were too busy playing king to notice." Behind the counter, Dave coughed into a laugh, loudly. Henry looked around, suddenly aware of the eyes watching. For once, the room wasn't afraid of him. It was, waiting. Curious. And worse, some people were smirking. June stepped closer. Not rude. Just steady. "Your money doesn't buy fear here anymore." The legal woman whispered something into Henry's ear. He waved her off and turned, walking out stiffly. No comments. No insults. Just silence. Once the door swung shut, the diner erupted. Dave banged the bell 3 times. Coffee on the house for the one and only June. Even Marla clapped. A couple at the window table stood to shake her hand. June took none of it to heart. She didn't like the attention, not really. What mattered to her was something deeper. He came back, tried to use power, and it failed. The next day, something changed. June was pouring refills when she noticed a family walk in, a woman and her teenage daughter. They looked nervous, out of place. "Is it true?" the woman asked. "You talked back to Henry Dales." June smiled politely. "Something like that." The woman exhaled. "He fired my husband last year. No severance. No explanation. Just power." Her daughter added quietly, "He was crying on the porch. First time I'd ever seen him cry." They sat in her section. Left a $50 tip on a $12 breakfast. After that, more stories rolled in. A teacher who lost her job after correcting Henry's son. A nurse who was transferred out of the county hospital after denying his priority request. A grocery manager who closed shop because rent spiked overnight. June listened, took notes. Names. Details. Then she did something nobody expected. She printed a sign. It read, "Tell your story. You're not alone." And she posted it on the wall by booth 7. The first slip of paper was hers. I spilled his coffee, and he told me I'd never work in this county again. Guess what? I'm still standing. By the end of the week, the wall was covered in handwritten stories. Henry didn't return the following Thursday. But someone did. An older man in a gray cardigan and cap. He introduced himself as Thomas Griggs, City Zoning Board, retired. I've heard about what you started here, he said. The wall. The stories. I used to work under Mr. Dales. I know what he did. What he buried. June didn't blink. What are you saying? I'm saying, if you're ready to take this farther, I'll back you. And just like that, the waitress who once poured coffee for the most feared men in town became the face of something bigger. Booth 7 was no longer his. Where Henry Dales once sat like royalty, now there was a bulletin board covered in handwritten notes, crooked, torn, some on napkins, some typed and printed. All telling stories of fear, retaliation, intimidation. All tied to him. It had started as one waitress's small act of defiance. Now it was a movement. Locals dropped by just to read the wall. Some left flowers. Others left envelopes marked, for the ones he hurt. People cried there. Hugged there. Sometimes they just stood still and stared at the words for a long time. June never took credit. She simply served coffee, cleared plates, and added new pins to the board when the older ones sagged. But everyone knew. This was her doing. Henry Dales didn't show his face for almost a month. Until one Monday morning, quieter than usual, June glanced out the window and froze. There he was. Standing beside a silver car, staring at the diner like it had personally betrayed him. He looked thinner, pale, unshaven. His usual pristine suit was wrinkled. For the first time, he looked human. And it didn't suit him. He stepped inside, and the diner went silent. People stared. Some looked away. Some stood. Others whispered. Henry's eyes scanned the place. Booth 7 was gone, replaced by the wall. There was nowhere left for him to hide. Then, he walked up to the counter. June met him halfway. No fear. No tension. Just tiredness. On both sides. I didn't come to fight, Henry said. His voice was lower. Not weak. But heavy. She said nothing. Let the silence press in. I read the stories, he added. The ones on the wall. Some I recognized. Others, I didn't. I didn't know how many people hated me. June finally spoke. It's not hate, Henry. It's truth. You built your kingdom on silence. That silence broke. He nodded. Stared at the counter for a long moment. I'm not here for forgiveness, he said. I just wanted to tell you something. She folded her arms. I'm listening. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded check. Placed it gently on the counter. June glanced down. $250,000. Signed. Dated. No memo. I'm stepping back, Henry said. I'm liquidating properties. Pulling out of local contracts. Giving up control. She didn't touch the check. Why now? She asked. He looked away. Because I finally realized something. You didn't just stand up to me. You reminded this town they still had a voice. That scares me more than losing money ever could. June took a breath. Picked up the check. Looked at it, then handed it back. Give it to the people you silenced, she said. Pay the nurse who lost her job. The family you evicted. Fix what you broke, not with charity, with responsibility. Henry stared at her, stunned. June continued, voice even, sharp. You don't get to wash your hands with a check. This isn't your redemption arc. It's your reckoning. And for the first time in his life, Henry Dales nodded like a man who understood he didn't deserve applause. He turned, quietly, and walked out. No one clapped. No one shouted, just silence. Months passed, the diner grew. A news crew came to cover the Booth 7 wall. Donations poured in. June used every cent to start a fund called the Refill Project, a nonprofit for workers pushed out by corporate abuse. Free counseling. Legal help. Small loans. No strings. They held their first town hall inside the diner. Booth 7 became a symbol, not of fear, but of freedom. Marla retired 2 months later, leaving June in charge. Dave started baking again, cinnamon rolls on Wednesdays. The diner buzzed with new life, and Henry he disappeared from the headlines. But once in a while, June would see a quiet donation come through the fund, no name, just from 7. A few locals said he moved to the coast. No assistance. No company. Just him. Excellence. June smiled. Then we'll fix it. But you don't get to disrespect anyone. Not here. Not in this booth. Not in this town. He stood. Threw some bills down. Walked out red-faced. Ellie looked at her, wide-eyed. Thank you, she whispered. June nodded. Don't thank me. Thank the wall. Behind them, the notes on Booth 7 fluttered in the breeze from the heating vent, stories of people who were no longer afraid.